Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving headfirst into a topic that's really stirring things up across the U.S. We're talking about the U.S. immigration landscape, specifically, how it affects international students and the much-discussed H-1B visa program. So our mission here today is to really unpack a very controversial and pretty blunt proposal that's come up recently about these policies. We want to explore what the potential impacts might be for universities, for research, the economy, everything. We'll distill the key info we've gathered to give you a clear picture, cut through the noise a bit.
Yeah, and this topic is just so critical right now. It's easy to talk numbers, but international students, these specialized foreign workers, they're really fundamental. They prop up parts of the U.S. economy. They're vital for higher education. They drive innovation. So understanding these policies, especially potential changes, is absolutely key because the ripples go wide. That's why this discussion is so timely.
Okay, so let's unpack this. It really kicks off with some very specific and, frankly, quite blunt demands from former White House strategist Steve Bannon. He's put forward some incredibly direct ideas that, if they were actually implemented, would completely overhaul how the U.S. handles international students and the H-1B visa. A total reversal, really. He has three main points, and they're causing quite a stir. First, a complete stop to H-1B work visas for international grads. Just stop them. So imagine you're an international student, you graduate from a U.S. university under this plan, the H-1B route to working here. Gone. Second, he's talked about a new policy where foreign students would basically have to leave the U.S. immediately after graduating. He used this striking phrase, having exit visas stapled to diplomas, very visual. And third, his call is to make sure there's absolutely no path to permanent residency. A green card for these students after they graduate, no way to stay long-term.
What jumps out immediately is just how radical these proposals are compared to what we have now. If something like this actually happened, the impact on international students would be, immediate and severe. Their options for U.S. employment, for staying long-term, just evaporate the moment they get their degree. They'd have to leave abruptly. And for the system overall, it's not just a tweak. It would fundamentally change how the U.S. attracts and, maybe more importantly, keeps top global talent. It could cut off that pipeline that connects our top universities directly to our workforce and innovation engine. It really is, as some say, a paradigm shift.
Right, and hearing such strong proposals about the H-1B makes you realize how much the term gets thrown around politically. But to really grasp the debate, we need to get past the sound bites and understand what this visa actually is. So what are we really talking about with the H-1B?
Okay, so at its core, the H-1B is a non-immigrant work visa. That means it's temporary, not an automatic path to a green card. It's mainly for foreign workers in what the government calls specialty occupations. Think fields like tech, science, engineering, medicine, roles that usually need at least a bachelor's degree and very specific knowledge. And there's a limit, a cap. It's set at $65,000 per year. Plus, there's an extra $20,000 set aside specifically for people who've earned advanced degrees, masters, or PhDs from U.S. universities.
And it seems like those limits and the whole specialty occupation idea are exactly where the arguments heat up, isn't it? Because you've got critics saying, look, this thing gets misused. They talk about visa mills, companies maybe using the lottery system to bring in workers at lower pay, potentially sidelining American workers. But then the proponents, they stress the economic upside. They argue the H-1B, especially for those high-skill, high-wage jobs, is absolutely crucial for the economy.
Exactly. Critics focus on potential downsides like wage depression or displacing U.S. workers, particularly if companies aren't genuinely seeking unique skills, but maybe just cheaper labor. They point to, issues with the lottery's transparency and enforcement. But on the flip side, those who support the H-1B argue these skilled workers often create more jobs. They might start companies, develop new tech that needs a bigger team, or fill critical skill gaps that are holding projects back. For them, it's about enabling growth, not just filling a seat.
And all this really underscores the huge role international students are already playing here. It's way more than just being students. These policy debates have real consequences for them.
Absolutely. Their contributions are, they're massive, both economically and academically. Economically, you're looking at billions with a B in tuition fees flowing into U.S. universities. That's a critical funding source, especially for public institutions. Academically, they're often the engine room for a huge amount of research across so many fields. Pushing boundaries, think about it. International students fill a really significant chunk of PhD spots in STEM fields, AI, biotech, advanced materials. Things vital for the U.S. staying competitive. And then, after graduation, many step into essential roles in tech, medicine, engineering. They feel skill shortages. So imagine a sudden H-1B ban plus that exit visa idea. You could see universities lose, say, 20% of their grad researchers almost overnight. That kind of shock wouldn't just discourage future students from coming, it could genuinely harm U.S. universities, mess up their funding, and ultimately slow down the research and innovation happening here.
Which brings us neatly to the broader political fight, doesn't it? It helps explain why this H-1B debate is so intense and why you hear such different things from different groups across the country. Who are the main voices in this tug-of-war?
Well, it's interesting because the lines aren't always where you'd expect. You have prominent figures in tech, people like Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy too, who consistently argue the H-1B is vital. They see it as essential for keeping America innovative, for bringing in the world's best talent to create jobs and push technology forward. It's about global competitiveness for them. Then, on the other side, you have figures like Steve Bannon and others aligned with the Trump MAGA movement. They often frame the H-1B program as a direct threat to American workers. The argument there is typically that companies misuse it to hire foreign labor more cheaply, undercutting opportunities for American citizens.
Yeah, and it's not just a simple pro-anti-immigration split. It gets into deeper arguments about economic models and what's best for the country. What's also notable is that even within the conservative base, there isn't total agreement. While some, like Bannon, push for a complete halt, arguing that it suppresses wages and encourages outsourcing, others in that same camp might say, well, maybe the program needs reform, not elimination. Better targeting, stricter enforcement, perhaps. So it's a complex picture, not monolithic.
Okay, so given these really stark proposals of this intense debate, what are the actual practicalities? What hurdles would need to be cleared for changes like a full ban or these exit visas to happen? What's the realistic outlook here?
Well, look, putting in place a total ban on H-1B extensions or mandating these immediate exit visas, that's not easy. It's a major policy shift. It would almost certainly require significant action, either new laws passed by Congress, which is, often a heavy lift, or sweeping regulatory changes made by federal agencies. It's not something that happens overnight with a snap of the fingers. And you're hearing warnings from all sorts of experts, economists, university leaders, tech executives. They're cautioning that restrictions this severe could really damage American higher education. They talk about shrinking U.S. research output and maybe the biggest risk, driving that top global talent, the very people fueling innovation to other countries, maybe Canada, the UK, Germany, countries with clearer pathways. The potential long-term hit to America's standing in science and technology is a serious concern being raised.
So quite a journey we've taken today. From those very specific, very blunt proposals to the wider economic and political fallout, the core tension is really clear. It's this stark contrast between how things work now for international students and H-1B visas and these more extreme proposals like Bannon's. And the implications, as we've discussed, are potentially huge, affecting our universities, our economy, and maybe even America's position as a global leader in research and innovation.
Which really leaves you, the listener, with a big question to think about. What's the real balance here? What's the true cost or benefit of sticking with the current path versus making these radical changes? It's this complicated mix of policy, economics, and fundamentally how we value human talent in a globally connected world.
All the best, and we will meet again with another important matter again.